welcome to this, and this will be an MMA video, which means if you don't want to hear me talk about MMA, turn the video off now. Okay, let's get started. I wanted to do this because basically I have gotten UFC Undisputed, and I kind of wanted to talk about that. There was also some things about the aftermath of UFC 98 I wanted to talk about. And, of course, this morning, yesterday morning, I guess, by the time I'm making this, by the time most of you will see this, I stayed up and watched Stream 9, which included the Super Hulk open weight tournament that Dream put on, which included Jose Canseco, which got a lot of news. Not just because of that, but that's why I turned, and also it looked like a very good card. That is the reason why I stayed up for it a good time. Because it looked like both a train wreck and a great card all mixed up into one. Japanese MMA at its best. So we're going to talk about that first. They did the Super Hulk tournament first, before they even did the opening ceremonies, which pretty much told you kind of what, I guess, Dream thought about this. The announcers even played it off as kind of a joke and more of just a novelty act than anything else. The opening match was Miniman versus Bob Sapp. This was very interesting. Bob Sapp actually looked like he had actually maybe trained for this. Not as big as he normally is, and didn't really matter, it didn't seem. As for a guy that seemed to train very hard for this, he also just got his ass handed to him, though I guess so much so that you have to question if he just did the job or just decided, I'm just going to get a paycheck. Whatever, it didn't last long. Miniman basically tapped him out, and that was that. Then we got what everybody pretty much tuned in for, I think, most people, because I was on Sheerdog, and a lot of people basically tuned in just to see the Canseco match with Hongman Choi, and then basically stayed up and watched the rest of it, which was good, because there was some good stuff on this. And Canseco came out. The one thing I will say about this, they even played up, they used the kind of animated pictures that they used, if you've seen the promo video for it. The graphics that they used were completely over the top. A lot of people who had never seen Dream, or probably had not seen Pride because they were fairly new fans, noted that just how amazing the production values were for this part, and we weren't even into the really great production values yet compared to UFC, so that was kind of interesting to see. But we got Canseco to come out. Canseco came out with a bat. He was not allowed to use the bat. Hongman Choi just dwarfed him in the ring. Hongman Choi, who looked more freaky. He looks freakier now than he did before he had the operation, weirdly enough, and not in a good way. They started. Canseco actually had a game plan. He kind of stayed away, stick and move, did some kicks and some jumping straight rights, and then would run away, so that was pretty good until he finally looked like he maybe blew out his knee, and then Hongman Choi jumped on him and just killed him, and he tapped out. And that was it. Lasted over a minute, so it lasted longer than, and didn't make a complete mockery of himself. The announcers pretty much made this to be just a joke, and that was that. Then we got Jan Norche, I believe is his name, versus Sokoju. This didn't go very long either. Sokoju basically got him on the ground and then beat him up. And then after the ref told him to stop, he continued to beat him up. It looked like Roid Rage. Who knows? It happened in Japan. I'm just saying. But Sokoju looked like Super Sokoju again, and that was kind of cool in all of its kind of neatness. Then we got Mark Hunt versus Masasi, which again, Mark Hunt is a name at this point. He's not near what he once was, which is kind of sad. And Masasi basically killed him. After the event, Masasi basically said that he was going to be on was going to be on Affliction 3, taking on Beaufort, which should be interesting and good. And that card is already looking like it may be very, very good, depending on what is confirmed and not. So after that, they actually did the intro, which was super cool. They had Kid Yamamoto basically walking in to the arena, and while they were doing it, his shirt continued to change. It was very cool. Blew away anything UFC has ever done. I will say that again when it comes to the production values, because it's just, they're second to none. It's just, it's so depressing to sit there and see what UFC gives us and then to see what Dream puts on. So it's just like, dear God. And you have to remember that Dream is basically made up by a lot of the people who were left over, at least the office people from Pride. So it has that Pride look to it. So there was that. But we got Jay-Z versus Kawajiri. This was a bit of a boring fight, to be honest. But Jay-Z had been off for a while, and this was just kind of there. Not as good as it should have been. Wasn't a bad fight, but wasn't a great fight either. But it was kind of what it was. Then we got Abel Coulomb versus, I'm going to completely butcher this, Tokoro? I believe it was Tokoro. I'll say Tokoro. I doubt that's right, but anyways, this was awesome. I would just like to point that out. I could not do this fight justice if I tried to explain it. They went out there. It wasn't the prettiest thing in the world to some extent. It was a bit sloppy, but because it was sloppy, it was awesome. They were going for counter after counter after. I mean, they were countering and recountering each other. It was insane. It was awesome. The first round was probably round of the year. I would say this may have been fight of the year when it's all said and done, or at least a contender. I would say contender, but this itself was worth staying up for. So there was that. Then we have Maeda versus Takaya, with Takaya getting the upset on a punch, which knocked Maeda down, and then he jumped on Maeda and killed him. So there was that. Then we had Bibiano versus Iminari, I guess. I've never seen the Japanese guy before, and I don't want to ever see him again. This was a horrible, boring fight that I never want to see again. And that's all I'm going to say about it. It sucked. It sucked ass. And yeah, I was very tired at this point. And then, but I was going to stay up because we had Kid Yamamoto versus Joe Warren. Joe Warren this was his second MMA fight ever, going up against the legend Kid Yamamoto, who had been off for almost 2 years. I guess really more, probably a year and a half. And so this was kind of his return fight versus Joe Warren. And this was Joe Warren's second fight. Kid Yamamoto did look, I wouldn't say rusty, but his cardio definitely wasn't there. And Joe Warren got the upset and Kid Yamamoto hit him with some shots that I think would have dropped a lot of guys in his weight class, and Joe Warren just kept coming. Joe Warren won the decision, a split decision. It was a very close fight, could have gone either way depending on how you scored it. It was just kind of just shocking to see. A lot of people on Sherdog basically said, yeah, that just shows that Kid was overrated, blah, 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 as the Sherdoggers will do. I would crank it up to, I wouldn't say rustiness, because he didn't look rusty, but Kid definitely looked like he was gassed, particularly in the second round, so I would put it up more to that. And Joe Warren is just a beast. I mean, he hit him with shots that, particularly knees to the stomach, I definitely think would have dropped a lot of other guys. So Joe Warren, we will probably be seeing Joe Warren, I would imagine, after the tournament is over in the UFC, probably not in the UFC, but in WEC. So there is that. Then we got Jacare versus Mayhem Miller for the vacant middleweight title. Masasi had the title. He went up in weight, vacated the title. So this was a rematch of, I believe, the quarterfinals or the semifinals. I think it was the semifinals of the middleweight tournament to get the title. And this should have been a very good fight. Unfortunately, it went about 30 seconds, and then Mayhem Miller hit Jacare with a kick while he was down on all fours, and which caused a cut, which caused then a no contest. So the main event was a dud. Other than that, though, this was very good. This was entertaining. The production values were insane. Mayhem Miller's entrance has to be seen to kind of be believed. There was a lot of people on Sherdog that were griping about the production values, the entrances, the fact that they were these big elaborate productions, and they were lasting sometimes longer than the fight. But those of us that had seen a lot of this stuff were used to it, and many of people were like, "This is so just destroys anything UFC usually does." It wasn't even funny, but very good stuff. I would recommend checking it out. I know a lot of people probably have seen the Canseco, Hongman Chow stuff, but there's definitely other stuff on here. I think overall, you know, the Super Hulk circus was very short. Wasn't even really part of the main show, which this kind of shows you what Dream really thought of it. But was interesting. I definitely, you know, if they show it on New Year's Eve, if they show the finals on New Year's Eve for the open weight, then I will definitely check that out. But another good Dream show. Dream usually puts on some really good stuff. Though, you know, as I have read other places have stated, you know, I think they are somewhat cursed as the guys that they don't necessarily want to win. The guys they want to win sometimes don't win in freakish ways. So we had that, but there was that. So now, let's get on to the pay-per-view, the last UFC pay-per-view, UFC 98. I'm not going to talk about the whole entire pay-per-view. I didn't watch the entire thing. Didn't really want to watch the whole thing. This to me was kind of a weak UFC pay-per-view, even with Matt Serra and Hughes. So, anyways, Serra and Hughes was what it was. I will say that. I know a lot of people are griping about the fact that they think Serra got robbed. I wouldn't say he got robbed. I think it was a pretty close fight. I do think Hughes won, but that's just me. But I definitely, you know, and you know what? I would like to state this. People on Sherdog need to freaking figure out what lay and pray really means, because they have no fucking clue. I figured this out last night. Just reading some of these people, what some of these people say, it's just like, my God. You know, I don't pretend to be like a freaking genius when it comes to MMA, but I at least know what lay and pray really is, and a lot of these people who are going to Sherdog, where you would imagine there would at least be people that would, people don't even call people out on this crap. It's amazing. I guess they just ignore it because it's just crap that goes on normally. But anyways, so there was that, and then of course we had the coronation of Machida. Now, people who have probably seen me talk about MMA before have heard me talk about Machida and the fact that I am a fan of Machida for no other reason than he pissed off, or he at one point, I guess something changed between his last fight and now. I guess because he actually knocked Evans out. But the fact that he just pissed off a lot of MMA fans because he was a boring fighter, even though, you know, he was good because he was undefeated and he beat everyone that he went in there with and was pretty dominant in how he did it. And then because he knocked out Evans, now apparently he is the second coming of Fedor. I don't know. I'm not willing to put that on him yet. I would much rather see him in the ring with Rampage first. I was never a big fan of Evans, even though, you know, he's a good fighter, but I was never a big fan of his. But as I didn't think he would beat Rampage. So, not that I think Rampage will beat Machida, but I definitely think that we'll see how good Machida is when he gets in there with Rampage, because I think Rampage will fight him a lot like Tito fought him, which I think at this point we have to kind of tip our hats to Tito, because Tito's the only guy that looked like he even belonged in the ring with him. So, at this point, and I think Rampage will probably use a lot of the same tactics. But it amazes me that after he won that fight, all of a sudden all of these people now love Machida. For months and months and months, we've heard nothing more about how he was boring, how he was bad for the sport, how no one wanted to see him fight, and now he's like the second coming of Christ, or as I said, Fedor. I don't get it. It's crazy, you know. To me, that's like the worst type of fans there is. If you don't like the guy, you don't like the guy. Don't jump on him because now it looks like he's going to be the next big thing, and you want to be part of the next big thing, you know, which I think a lot of MMA, current MMA fans are anyways. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about that. It just completely just irks me. And also, what is this stuff about freaking Shogun being the guy that's going to beat him? I don't think Shogun will beat him. Unless somehow Shogun magically turns back into Shogun in Japan, which I don't think will happen, because I just don't see that happening for various reasons. And you know, and maybe it will. And if that does, then yeah, maybe he will. But, you know, like I said, let's see him take on Rampage first. I think we'll be able to kind of judge him as just how great he is. I'm not saying he's not great. I'm just saying how great he is. And then we can lavish praise and all of that upon him. So there is that. And then, let's see here. We have the game. UFC Undisputed, which if you watched UFC 98, you of course got to see the fact that they pimped that game like it was going out of style. Which is good because it is a very good game. I got it the first day it came out. I got it at Best Buy because of Best Buy. You not only got a free DVD, which I got, Ultimate 2008. You also got a $10 gift card, and of course you got $10 off of a future UFC pay-per-view. So with all of that, that's why I got it at Best Buy. But anyways, I got the game. The game is very good. It has about 100 fighters in it. Of course, I had the demo. If you played the demo, you knew it was looked like it was going to be a very good game. The only problem I had with the demo is they stuck you with 2 strikers and didn't give you a anybody who was really good on the ground, though. You know, both Liddell and Shogun. You know, you could get on the ground, but they weren't ground guys per se. So I don't know what problem with the demo. So then when I got the game, it's pretty good. I like it. I just have you got a lot of good fighters in it. My one complaint going into the game, which I already knew, was the limited, when you create your fighter, it's very limited on the styles. You basically get striking, you get boxing, kickboxing, I believe it's kickboxing, and Muay Thai, and then in grappling you get wrestling, judo, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know, I was kind of upset that you didn't have, you know, particularly more grappling. Maybe you could throw in some other striking, but I have no idea what you would throw in. But anyways, I was just kind of irked about that. But once I started actually playing the game, while it's simplistic in that part of it, it is good and it does fit. But as far as the career mode, which is when you create your fighter, you get to play, I do have major problems with that part of it. And it basically involves this. This is useless. This is the instructional manual. This is what, 17 pages, and I think there's 14 of these pages, right? 14, I take that back. 13 of these pages are actual talk about the game. The rest of it's just basically filler crap that nobody cares about. This is fucking useless for this game. Let me explain to you why. The striking is very easy to get. The grappling, not so easy. Also, the tutorials in the game suck at trying to teach you how to grapple. I have talked to person after person after person after person who has this game, and the ones that actually understand the game, they say they understand the game because of the strategy guide, which they magically talk about on the back of the instruction manual, and that is the only way you're going to understand half the crap in this game. Without that, it's a lot of trial and error, particularly when you get to the freaking career mode, where you're basically, okay, how do I use the stats? What stats are good for this? What do my stats need to be? All of that stuff, which really, while some of it probably, you know, should be trial and error, there's a lot of stuff that basically people have had to go online to find. This should be in the freaking instruction manual. What kind of crap is that? And it's not like this is the only game I've played over the last probably 4 years that this has happened to. I don't know what it is, but I would say over the last 5 years or so, instruction manuals, particularly for console games. Computer games, not so much. Computer games, you get big, thick instruction manuals that really help you and explain everything, and if you have a question, you can go to the instruction manual. Freaking console games, no fucking clue. I don't know why, I don't understand it. But anyways, the game is very good, the graphics are good, the controls I think are very good. My only problem with the graphics is really with the ring girls who look fugly in this game. I have no idea why. And then the load screens. The load screens are absolutely fucking annoying. And they're just annoying, and that's all there is to it. I don't know how the PlayStation 3 version is, but I would imagine it's probably similar, and that this is fucking annoying. But the game is a lot of fun. My only other big complaint is, because of, which a lot of people already knew, because of a licensing agreement issues. There's a lot of, like, Arlovski's in this game, Sylvia's in this game, but of course, Couture's not in this game, Tito's in this game. There's a lot of, like, people that you would think should be in the game that are not. There aren't a lot of legends in this game. That's probably one of my big gripes. The only really unlockable guys, apparently, are the tap-out guys. That's kind of eh. Maybe they'll do some downloadable content, which you can have some legends, which would be nice, because there's a lot of guys that I would like to play as I'm sure a lot of other people like to play as. That's one of the fun things when you have a sports or fighting or any type of game like this that's based in any type of reality. You would like to use legends and people you want to use, and there's a lot of those people that aren't in this game. So, other than that, I would say that's it. The grappling, though, is kind of hard to get used to if you haven't played the game, and of course the instruction manual is freaking useless, and the tutorials aren't that much more help, to be honest. It's a lot of, like I said, just trial and error. But anyways, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about with this. I've probably gone on long enough. So with that, I am out. My next video, I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or the next day. It might be the next day, in which I will do a long video on Jim Cornette and the 2 articles he's put up on his webpage, and also an interview he did for Figure 4 Online, which was also very interesting. I want to talk about all those things because there's lots of issues with that I want to talk about. But anyways, with that, I'm out. Later, folks.